Hi. In today's lecture, I would like to discuss about eccentric loading, crane hook, stress concentration, fluctuating stresses, endurance limit, and notch sensitivity. So, eccentric loading. So, what is eccentric load? Generally, when a load acts parallel to the centroidal axis of a machine component, that particular load is said to be an eccentric load. Generally, it is denoted by the alphabet E. So here in this picture we can see the eccentric load P acting on a rectangular body. P1 is the normal load acting along the central axis. P is the eccentric load acting at a distance E away from the central axis, but still it is parallel to the central axis. So here we can see the stress diagram. So this is the stress diagram for the direct compressive stress. So here we can see the bending stress, and so here we can see the combined direct and the bending stress diagram. So here it is clearly visible from the graph that on the compressive side the stress is more when compared to the tensile stress. So this shows that the load does not act along the central axis, but it is an eccentric load acting towards the right of the central axis. So the magnitude of compressive stress is given by P by A or P1 by A. P by A is for a eccentric load. P1 is for a normal load acting along the central axis. So this equation gives the bending stress along the edge AB, and this equation gives the bending stress along the edge CD. So this is the AB edge and this is the CD edge. AB experiences a compressive force, whereas CD experiences a tensile force due to the eccentric load P. So here I have included a model problem. So here a rectangular strut of 150 mm width and 120 mm thickness is considered. It carries a load of 180 kilonewton at an eccentricity of 10 mm in a plane bisecting the thickness as shown in the figure. We are supposed to find the maximum and the minimum intensities of stress in the section. So here we can see the eccentric load 180 kilonewton acting at a distance of 10 mm from the centroidal axis, and the width and the length of the cross section of the rectangular strut is 120 mm and 150 mm. So we can find out the direct compressive stress using the equation P by A, and then you can find out the bending stress using the equation sigma by y is equal to m by I. After we find out the compressive stress and the bending stress, we can calculate the maximum intensity of the compressive stress at the edge AB, and we can calculate the minimum intensity of the compressive stress at the edge CD. So AB will have a positive value or a higher value when compared to the edge CD. That is clearly shown in the stress diagram below. So here I have shown a problem for crane hook. So a crane hook is given here in the figure. So the crane hook has a rectangular cross section. So the section at this at XX is given here. It has a thickness of 20 and it has a length of 100 mm. And here you can see that the load of 20 kilonewton acts downwards. Now the inner radius and the outer radius of the crane hook is given as 50 and 150 mm respectively. So considering the cross section at XX with respect to the load acting downwards, which is 20 kilonewton, the dimensions are given. So the inner edge and the distance between the inner edge and the load acting downwards is Ri, and the distance between the outer edge and the load acting downwards is Ro or R outer. Rn is the distance from the neutral axis to the load acting downwards, and R is the distance from the central axis to the load acting downwards. Yi is the distance from the neutral axis to the inner fiber, and Y0 is the distance from the neutral axis to the outer fiber. So we can calculate yi and y naught with respect to the radius. So yi is rn minus ri, y naught is r naught minus rn. Using the y values, we can calculate the bending stress using the equation m by I is equal to sigma by y. So the resultant stress at the inside fiber is the summation of the tensile stress and the bending stress, whereas the resultant stress at the outside fiber is nothing but the tensile stress minus the bending stress. So tensile stress is nothing but load by area. So considering the tensile stress and the corresponding inner and outer bending stress, we can calculate the resulting stress at the inside edge and the outside edge. So at the inside edge, we can see that it has 102 megapascals, whereas on the outside edge or near the outside fiber, we can see that the stress is around 34 megapascal. Next is completely reversed or cyclic stresses. So completely reversed or cyclic stresses are stresses which repeat between compressive and tensile. So they are reversed. So they vary from one value to the other. Either they can move from compressive to tensile and vice versa, or they can be a completely reversed stress of the same type. So in this diagram, we can see the completely reversed stress. So in completely reversed stress, we have a maximum tension force and then maximum compression force alternating with each other. In repeated stress, we can see that there is only one single type of stress which alternates between a maximum value and a minimum value, which is 0. Fluctuating stress is the stress which fluctuates between either tension or compression, and also they both are not, the maximum and the minimum values are not similar, they are completely different. So here sigma m is the mean stress, sigma v is a variable stress. Sigma m is the summation of the maximum and the minimum stress by 2, and the variable stress or alternating stress is the maximum minus minimum stress by 2. So in this graph, we can see the number of cycles versus stress. So for any number of cycles, as long as the stress falls within this pink line, pink dotted line represented in this graph, the design of the machine element is said to be safe. This particular stress value is called as the endurance stress or the endurance limit. So it is nothing but the particular point where the material will not fail for any number of cycles of change in stress. So that particular stress is called as your endurance stress or fatigue stress. So this is the value sigma E is the endurance stress. Next is stress concentration. Stress concentration is nothing but the concentration or the change in the stress distribution when the dimension of a machine component changes abruptly. So the equation for the stress concentration factor is nothing but maximum stress by nominal stress. Generally, stress concentration occurs in a machine component due to the presence of fillets, notches, holes, keyways, splines, or it can also be due to surface roughness or scratches. There are many methods for reducing stress concentration because stress concentration either induces cracks, failures, or breakage in the machine component. So here we can see that when there is a sudden change in the dimension of the machine component, there is an abrupt change in the stress distribution, and hence very um, the design is not very safe. Whereas here you can see that the dimension change is not very abrupt, so there's a gradual or a smooth change. So here we have a better reduction in the stress concentration, and here there is a furthermore smooth change in the dimension, and this is more preferred. And here we have notches provided to furthermore reduce the change in the stress concentration. So there are some factors to be considered while designing the machine parts to avoid fatigue failure or failure in the machine component. So the variation in the size should obviously be gradual and smooth as possible. Holes, notches, or other stress razors, which I already mentioned in the previous slides, should be avoided. There should be proper stress deconcentrators such as fillets and notches. The parts should be protected from corrosive atmosphere so that the smooth finish on the machine component is preserved. A smooth finish of the outer surface of the component increases the fatigue life. The material with higher fatigue strength should also be considered when manufacturing the machine component. The residual compressive stress over the part surface increases its fatigue strength. So this is the fatigue stress concentration factor, which is Kf. So the endurance limit without stress concentration divided by the endurance limit with stress concentration is nothing but the fatigue stress concentration factor. Next is the notch sensitivity. The term notch sensitivity is nothing but the degree to which the theoretical effect of stress concentration is actually reached. The stress gradient mainly depends on the radius of the notch, the hole or the fillet, and also on the grain size of the material. So here we can see that the relationship between the notch radius and the notch sensitivity. So for steel, the notch sensitivity is not much dependent on the notch radius. So for or almost all the different types of notch radius, the notch sensitivity is said to be similar. For aluminium and normalized or anneated steel, the notch sensitivity changes with respect to the notch radius. As the radius keeps increasing, the sensitivity obviously keeps increasing. Thank you.